Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about grief and loss. But before we get started, I need you to, if you haven't already, I need you to subscribe and hit the notification bell and like and share because that will help me grow the channel. This has been on my mind for a while, so I'm thinking maybe this is what the Most High would have me discuss with you. Somebody might have someone in their life that's going through loss and grief. And sometimes we need to know how to handle it or how to help because so many times we don't know what to do. And so today we're going to talk about some things, some tools for you to know what to do to help someone. And if you're already going through grief and loss, hopefully this can help you to know that you're not alone and you're not going crazy as a result of dealing with your grief. Okay? So I looked up the word grief just to see what it meant, and it said a keen mental suffering or distress over affliction or loss, sharp sorrow, and painful regret, a cause or an occasion of keen distress. All right? So everyone has gone through some type of loss. Grief is an emotion that we all have felt, only we deal with it differently. Some hide their pain and sorrow by stuffing it deep within and pretending that they're fine when they are not. And others, in some cultures, they wear black for months or even years, and they're not even able to muster a smile during that time. Now, there's no shame in expressing your grief, but let's talk about some things that we can do to help us. Okay? So, crying will not change things, nor will it bring your loved one back. But I understand that it is a release of the pressure that you feel at that moment. But your aching heart can be healed if you go to God with your sorrow and ask Him to carry this heavy load. And I want you to think about this promise because I'm sure you heard it before. And if you're one of those people who haven't, Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So when your heavy load is too heavy and you think you can't make it through, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Know that God is fighting your battles, arranging things in your favor, and making a way even if you don't see the way. So don't give up on God. Remember, in Psalms 30, verse 5, it says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And your morning might be years, it might be months, but joy does come. So don't give up on God. So I need you to talk to God. How do we do that? We pray. And never underestimate the power of prayer. It will get you in, out, and through. Trust me, because I've experienced lots of loss and grief. Nothing happens without God's permission, and God will not allow a difficult trial that He has a divine purpose for it. If you keep your peace, you'll pass the test, and God will bring you out better than you were before. Just remember, hindsight is 2020. Now, we haven't spoken about the stages of grief. They are all sometimes expressed like this. Denial, the first thing that happens when you hear about something tragic, you're in denial. It can't be. I just spoke to that person yesterday. That can't happen. Isolation, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. I'm not going to go through these with you, but I need you to know. I do wish I wasn't having to do this on my phone, but I don't have a computer. I don't know how to do it on my computer. And I know sometimes people are visual learners and some are audio learners and some are both. And I know if you see this, it might help you better than just me saying it. But remember, denial, isolation, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Now, you can experience any of these at any given time and not necessarily in this order. Okay? So far, I've mentioned grief as it relates to death of a loved one or even an animal. And yes, we do grieve the loss of our pets, but we sorrow for other reasons as well. So I don't want you to dismiss or think about someone who's grieving over a pet, because people take their pets very, very seriously. They become like part of the family. They become children. They become friends. Listen, just know if someone is grieving over a loss of a pet, they're going to need you and your kindness and sympathy as if they lost a friend or a relative. So just be kind in that regard. So let me name a few things that people grieve over with loss other than death. All right? Let's see. And I said, I wish I had this so you could see what I'm saying. Physical disability. If someone is well and then they end up having a physical disability, think about that. That's a loss. And they grieve that loss. Job loss. People grieve the loss of jobs. Caregiver burnout. That's something we don't even think about. Infertility, birth of a special needs child, miscarriage, or abortion. Those are losses that people grieve. Divorce, natural disaster, trouble with the law, hospitalization, life-threatening illness, parental struggles, and that can come in a myriad of challenges today especially. Unwanted pregnancy, depression, loss of independence, theft or house fire, or even an empty nest. People grieve over these losses. And if you know anyone going in and out of any of these, they're going to need your help. So that was a list. And guess what? That's not all. But for the sake of this video, I can't name them all. But I'm just here to want to talk to you a little bit about this. So remember this. If you're going through a challenge of loss and grief, no matter what anyone tells you, it is okay to grieve. You're not alone, even if you feel this way. There are books and programs that can help you navigate through your grief and to help you to the other side of acceptance. There's your local hospice. I would say churches and synagogues and mosques, but I'm not really sure because believe it or not, sometimes these are not places that offer help for any of these things. And it's a shame because, and some are now doing it. So I can't speak for everyone, so don't come after me. But I know it's kind of late because I know places that you had to kind of, churches in particular, you had to kind of pressure into helping in this area. And then some getting it long after they've had lots of congregations. They've had large congregations, people who have died, people who have had losses, and they never think that this is an issue. But then they pick up on it and they start to do something. So, all right, we're going to praise the Most High for that. But it is a shame that I can't send you to a lot of these places because they don't have anything in place to help you. But if you're going through this, or you know someone that's going through this, this might help you to help them. Okay? So listen, I want to take some time to mention the myths of grieving, because they are some myths. And it's funny because you're going to see that some of these you've heard before. First of all, tears are a sign of weakness. That's a myth. Tears that crying we talked about in the beginning. It's an emotion that you have, and it's okay. It is okay. Tears are not a sign of weakness. It's an emotion that we all have as humans. Men don't cry. Yeah, I'm going to sit on that one for a minute. Can you imagine? Men don't cry. And as a result, I know someone who didn't because he was told that all of his life to the point he no longer could cry as a result of being told that men don't cry. So these are myths, remember. Another myth is it is best to avoid discussing loss with the grieving person. That's the very thing. Talking about the loss is not going to hurt that person, or even listening to that person talk about their loss is not something that's going to hurt them. But what I will tell you that might hurt them is for you to tell them what if it's loss for death, what might be a problem is for you to tell them what that person would or would not want them to be doing. You cannot speak for their loved one, the deceased loved one. Okay, so I'm saying to you, if it's me, don't tell somebody Diane would want you to move on. Don't speak for me, because I would want you to move on once you've done your work. Once you address the issue of your loss, deal with it, then move on. But if they haven't been able to do that, then don't speak for me and don't speak for others, okay? And here's another one. An end of grief means that you have stopped caring for the one that you have lost to death. All right, so if you now have come to you've done your work and you have come to this point of acceptance, then you can move on. And then people think, it's too soon. You can't move on. Did you not love my father? Did you not love my mother? Did you not love Granny? They get involved now telling you that you must not have loved that person if you moved on this fast. No, that is not true. Once they have done their work and they've gone through and they've come to acceptance, that's all you can do. They can move on with their lives. Your loved one comes back to talk to you or to haunt you or are looking down on you from heaven. This is a myth. This does not happen. The dead know nothing. Okay? That's not happening. That's a spirit of a demon. It's not your loved one. We'll talk about that maybe in another video, but this is a myth, okay? And another one is time heals all wounds. That's not what heals wounds. It is the grace of God that heals you. And when you do your work, processing the grief, that's what does it. It's not the fact that you've had time and now, you're healed because time has done so. Time can't. What is time? It doesn't do it. Okay? That's the process of getting to the point of acceptance. It has nothing to do with time. And no one can really put a time on how long it should take you to get through your grief. Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. There is no point to say, all right, it's been 2 months now. You should be done with this. Come on, let's move on. It's been a year. You don't do that to anyone, and don't let anyone do that to you. Replace the loss with something or someone. That's a person that's not able to deal with their loss, so they replace it. So rather than doing the work and dealing with it, they replace it with something or someone. All right, that's a myth. And be strong for others. Definitely a myth. You have to live your life for yourself and not stifle your grief in order to be strong for someone else. Everyone has to deal with this on their own and in their own way, and you have to look out for yourself, okay? So, what are some gifts that you can give to a person who's grieving? Sometimes a person who's grieving has been left alone. Let me just stop here and say, share an experience that I had. I was 18 years old, and my neighbor's husband died. Everybody, all her friends, family. This is a woman in her 50s, and I'm 18. Remember, her son, who was a friend of mine, he's a neighbor across the street. He's young, married. no one thought, who's going to stay with her tonight after the funeral? And I don't know if they thought this one with the son, or the son thought the auntie or the cousin. I don't know. But all I know is I was left alone with her at 18. And I didn't understand death. I didn't understand the state of the dead at the time. So I'm really not the person to be there. And she was a person who drank. Her grief was strong. And the more she drank, the more difficult she became because of the anxiety that she was feeling. She's left alone. And here I am staying with her. I mean, by the time it got past midnight, she was beside herself. Her husband died of a heart attack in the backyard trying to fix the shed. So now she's at a point where she's blaming the shed. She wants to go outside and tear the shed down. She's just beside it. And I'm doing everything I can to keep her calm. But with the alcohol, it made it impossible. It was very near morning that I was exhausted and I had to call my parents to come and help me. And they came and got her calm and got her in bed because I couldn't do it. And that taught me something, that because it ended up happening to me, I can't even believe this, that I was in that same situation when my late husband died of cancer. I didn't drink, of course, but everyone left me. When it was all said and done, that night after the funeral, I was left alone. And that took me back to that experience with my neighbor. So if someone is in a situation, see to it that somebody is with them there. Find out who's going to stay tonight, who's going to be with you. Just check on them. That's an easy gift to give somebody. How about giving them cards and stamps so that they can, when they're able, they can write thank you cards or whatever. Just do that as a gift. Help them out. Help them with household chores, shopping, babysitting. Help them to get organized if they need it. Help them pack up their loved ones' belongings when they get to that point and they need it. Take them food and water, because trust me, they're not able to eat. They're not able to think. They're not able to think about themselves because the grief is very difficult. But don't take them junk food, okay? No sugary junk, okay? Don't do that. Take them things that are healthy and pre-cooked. Here are some texts that could help you, to help comfort you when you're feeling some kind of way. So when you're angry, think about this text. Psalms 37:8. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. That is a good text to have in mind when you're angry. Now, this is a good text to have in mind when you get angry, even if you're not grieving. Okay, to kind of, wait a minute. Cease from anger, forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. I think that's a good text. When finding companionship in God, you want to find companionship in God. Isaiah 54:10. For the mountains shall depart and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from thee, neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, saith the Lord, that hath mercy on thee. This is a text when you want to find companionship in God. And when you're feeling confused, which will happen a lot, trust me, your mind plays tricks on you. That's why I said at one point, you're not going crazy. And they tell you, if you're in a situation of grief, do not make any major decisions. Your mind is too confused. You won't remember why you put this there. You can't remember the important things. Your mind is cloudy. There's nothing wrong. This is just what happens. Grief can be physical. It can affect you physically I'll talk about that after I read you these texts. Proverbs 3, verses 3 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. When you get confused, think of this verse. Come back to this video if you have to. If you haven't, write them down and think about, read them, put them on cards, have them somewhere so you can pick them up when you need it if you don't have a Bible. But if you need a Bible, just email me at a new life ministry 5 gmail.com and I'll send you one because I really want you to have one. Or you can download one on your phone or tablet. Also, Psalms 55:22. Cast thy burdens upon the Lord, he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. This is a good text to look at when you are feeling confused. Here's some others. Isaiah 43, verse 2. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. And when you need courage, John 14:1, let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. Let's see, 2 Corinthians 4, 8, and 9. We are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. Those are good ones. And when you're feeling depressed, which will happen, that's a stage, okay? Psalms 30, verse 5. For his anger endureth, but for a moment; in his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. And 12 and 13. Beloved, it says, beloved, I think not that it's strange concerning fiery trials that try you, as though something strange has happened unto you, but insomuch as you are partakers of Christ's suffering, that when he shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. I'm sorry I messed that one up, but it's 1 Peter 4, 12 and 13. When you're afraid, Psalms 56, 11, in God have I put my trust. I will not be afraid what man can do unto me. And of course, the famous Psalms 23. I'm not going to read all of that one, but you can read that for yourself. And God can give you peace. Isaiah 26, 3. Thou shalt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusts in thee. Colossians 3:15. And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to the which also ye are called in one body, and be ye thankful. And when you're worried, and that will happen, anxiety will come. My anxiety got so bad at one point I had panic attacks. I told you grief is real. It's real, and it can be very physical. Okay, and so when you get worried or anxious, think about this one. 1 Peter 5:7, casting all of your care upon him, for he careth for you. Okay, so we are here. We all have this. We've all experienced this. There's no way I can exhaust this subject for the sake of time for this video. I just wanted to share a little something that might help someone or someone you know that's going through loss of some kind, and to help educate you that all loss isn't death. We need to be there for one another because, yes, we are our brother's keeper. So I hope this little video is a little longer than I normally do, but it's been on my mind, so maybe somebody now or in the future might need this encouragement. And I hope it was an encouragement to you. So may the grace and peace of God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ be with you all until we meet again in the next video. All right? Shalom.